day long. The flowerpot man. The flowerpot man. The flowerpot man.
Old Slowpots. It was a beautiful spring morning in the garden, and Bill and Ben, the flowerpot men, decided to visit Slowcoach the tortoise. They climbed out of their flower pots, ran over to Slowcoach's house, and knocked on the door. "Slobberlob!" they called. "Ah! What the shell is going on?" exclaimed Slowcoach as he came out of his house to see what the noise was about. "Oh, it's you two. What do you want?" "Flubber this it, Slobberlob," said Bill and Ben. "You want to visit me? OK then, come on in," said Slowcoach. He walked back into his house, and Bill and Ben followed him. Soon, Bill, Ben, and Slowcoach were settled in. "So, what do you want to chat about?" asked Slowcoach. But Bill and Ben didn't answer, because they were staring into space. "Excuse me," said Slowcoach. Bill and Ben snapped out of daydreaming. "Oh, Flobberdory Slobberlob," they said. "You were daydreaming when I was speaking to you," said Slowcoach. "Flubber of a question," said Ben. "You want to ask me a question? Well, ask away," said Slowcoach. "Flubber of a small?" asked Ben. "What is it like being small? What do you mean?" puzzled Slowcoach. Bill and Ben explained that what they meant by their question was that Slowcoach looked up to them when speaking to them, and they were wondering what it was like for him. Slowcoach tried his best to answer the flowerpot men's question. "Well, when you're small, you don't have to bend down so much when you eat lettuce. You'd be able to see the tiny garden insects that you can't see when standing up. You can get into my house without bending down, and, well, that's all I can think of, really." Then Bill and Ben had an idea. They decided that they were going to be tortoises like Slowcoach to see what it was like to be small. So they left Slowcoach's house to get some things for their game. "Hey! Where are you two going? Hooligans!" said Slowcoach. Bill and Ben wondered if there was anything in the shed they could use for shells. "Flubber of a dead, Bill?" asked Ben. Oh, flubber boxes and flubber tape," answered Bill. He thought there might be some small boxes and sticky tape in the shed. So, in they went. Bill and Ben climbed onto the workbench and started looking for small boxes and sticky tape. Bill found them first. "Ho-ho! Flubber boxes!" he said. "And flubber tape!" said Ben. Now that they had found what they were looking for, Bill and Ben stuck the boxes onto their backs with the sticky tape. Soon Bill and Ben came crawling out of the shed with the boxes on their backs and speaking slowly and deeply. "Flubber Ben," said Bill. "Flubber Bill," said Ben. The flowerpot men laughed and crawled slowly towards Thistle's corner. Thistle wondered why Bill and Ben were crawling slowly in front of the tree. "What on earth are you two doing?" she asked. "Tortoises," said Bill slowly. "Slobber, said Ben slowly. "You're being tortoises like Slowcoach? Well, that's just silly. You're flowerpot men, not tortoises," said Thistle. Said Bill slowly and huffily, and he crawled slowly towards the end of the garden. Ben blew a raspberry at Thistle and followed him. When Bill and Ben got to the vegetable patch at the end of the garden, they wondered if tortoises eat carrots as well as lettuce.
Flowers carrots?
Asked Bill slowly. Flubber don't know, but Flubber hungry, answered Ben slowly. He didn't know, but he was hungry, so he and Bill pulled the carrots out of the ground with their mouths and started eating them. It wasn't as easy as they thought.
Flubber
Said Bill slowly with his mouth full.
Flubber crazy,
Said Ben slowly with his mouth full. Eventually, they finished eating, but they were still quite hungry, so they made their way to the greenhouse. Meanwhile, Slowcoach was out for a walk when he came to the cellar door.
I don't think I've been in the cellar before. I think I'll see what's down there,
he thought. Slowcoach walked up 2 planks next to each other like a ramp onto the cellar door and looked down into the cellar.
Oh, how do I get down there? Were there stairs that have fallen?
He wondered. Then Slowcoach saw Thistle and decided to ask her.
Thistle, how do I get into the cellar? I'm interested to see what's down there, you see.
Well, Slowcoach, Bill and Ben jumped down into it because there's a slide to get into the cellar, answered Thistle.
A slide? Said Slowcoach nervously. Oh dear, I don't know. I am interested in going into the cellar, but I'm not sure about sliding.
Slowcoach looked at the cellar slide and sighed.
Well, I guess that's the only way in. So here goes!
He stepped forward and slid down the slide.
Ah!
He said as he slid down towards the cellar. When he got to the bottom of the slide, Slowcoach said,
I'm sure Bill and Ben find that fun, but I'm not sure at my age.
Then he saw what was around him.
Oh, wow! There's actually quite a few things to see down here. I'm definitely having a look around here.
Slowcoach went to look round the cellar, interested to see what was there. In the greenhouse, Ketchup was amused to see Bill and Ben crawling slowly inside.
What have we here?
He chuckled.
Flubber tortoises,
said Bill slowly. Flubber lubber slubber lub, said Ben slowly.
Oh, you're being tortoises like Slowcoach, eh? Said Ketchup. Then I suppose you've come here for some lettuce, have you?
Bill and Ben nodded their heads.
Well, help yourselves. Flubber thank you, Ketchup,
said Bill and Ben slowly, and started eating the lettuce with their mouths.
Oh, you are a funny pair, chuckled Ketchup.
Later, in the cellar, Slowcoach had finished looking around and was making his way back to where he had started.
I will never be able to get up those stairs to the man's house, he said. Now then, where's the way to get out?
Slowcoach looked round for another passage, but all he could see was the slide.
Oh dear, there isn't one apart from the slide, which means I can't get back up again, said Slowcoach. Oh no, I think I might be stuck. Yes, I'm stuck. Help! Stuck in the cellar. Help! And I can't get out. Help! And I'm hungry. Help!
In the garden, Bill and Ben were crawling slowly past the cellar door when they heard Slowcoach calling for help.
Help! Help! Somebody get me out of here! Slobber lob,
said Bill and Ben slowly. They crawled slowly up the planks that Slowcoach walked up earlier and looked down into the cellar.
Flubber, slobber, lob, they called down slowly. Bill? Ben? Is that you? Oh, thank heavens you've come along! I'm stuck in the cellar and I don't know how to get out, said Slowcoach.
Then he paused and said,
And why are your voices so slow and deep?
Bill and Ben told Slowcoach that they were playing at being tortoises and that he had to climb up the slide to get out of the cellar.
You hooligans! I do not sound like that, and I can't climb up the slide to get out. Stop being tortoises and get me out of here, said Slowcoach.
Bill and Ben knew that he was right. They couldn't rescue him whilst being tortoises, otherwise they would get stuck too.
Ah, flobberdob,
said Bill in his normal voice. He'd had an idea. Ben would go into the cellar and tie some string round Slowcoach. Then, when he gave the signal, Bill would pull the tortoise up so that Ben would have free hands to climb up the slide. Ah, flop a good plan, Bill, said Ben in his normal voice. The flowerpot men stood up and took their box shells off. Then Bill jumped off the cellar door and ran off to the shed to find some string, while Ben stayed behind to keep Slowcoach company. Slobberlob! Flubber help is coming! Ben called down to Slowcoach.
Help is coming? Oh, good! I'm getting really hungry, said Slowcoach.
Then Ben had an idea. He jumped off the cellar door and ran to the greenhouse.
Hello, Ben, said Ketchup when Ben arrived. Finished playing your tortoise game, then?
Flubber, no time to explain, said Ben as he grabbed a lettuce leaf and ran off back to the cellar door, leaving Ketchup feeling puzzled.
I wonder where he's off to in such a hurry with that lettuce leaf, he said.
When Ben got back to the cellar door, he jumped onto it and dropped the lettuce leaf down into the cellar. Flubber, deep you going? Ben called down to Slowcoach.
Is that lettuce leaf for me to keep myself going? Said Slowcoach. Oh, you are kind for a troublemaker.
As Slowcoach started eating the lettuce leaf, Bill arrived back with some very long string.
Flobberdobbling,
he said as he jumped onto the cellar door and gave Ben one end of the string. Flubber coming down, Slobberlob! Ben called down to Slowcoach.
Righto,
said Slowcoach as he swallowed a mouthful of lettuce and moved to one side. Bill and Ben gave each other a thumbs up. Then Ben jumped down into the cellar whilst holding his end of the string and slid down the slide. Whee! said Ben as he slid down towards the cellar. When he got to the bottom of the slide, he blew a raspberry to tell Bill that he was in the cellar. The flowerpot men sniggered at their silly communication. But Slowcoach was not amused. Ben tied his end of the string around Slowcoach and called up to Bill. Flubby!
Flob!
called Bill, and he started pulling Slowcoach up the slide.
Ah, this is a pleasant ride. It's more suitable for my age, sighed Slowcoach.
At last, Bill pulled the tortoise back into the garden.
Oh, yes! I'm back in the garden sunshine again! Thank you, Bill, said Slowcoach. Flubber welcome, Slobberlob, said Bill.
He untied the string around Slowcoach, who then walked down the planks.
Flubber Slobberlob's safe now, Ben,
Bill called down to Ben. Flubber coming up, called Ben, and he climbed up the slide back to the garden. When Ben got to the top, he and Bill jumped down onto the ground.
Well, I don't know what to say, apart from, thank you so much for getting me out of the cellar, boys. I could never have done it on my own, said Slowcoach.
Flubber welcome, Slobberlob, said Bill and Ben.
Right, I'm off home now. See you later, said Slowcoach.
Flubber bye, Slobberlob, said Bill and Ben, waving to the tortoise. As Slowcoach walked away back to his house, Bill and Ben looked at each other and shook hands as in to say well done for rescuing Slowcoach. Then they put their arms around each other. They decided it was time for them to go home too, so they walked off back to the bottom of the garden. When Bill and Ben arrived and climbed into their flower pots, Weed said, "Hello, boys. What have you been doing today?" And as Bill and Ben told Weed about their adventure, they learned that it's fun pretending to be something else, but when someone needs help, it's always best to be yourself.
Bill and Ben, the flower pot men. Bill and Ben, the flower pot men. They've been playing in the garden, playing with their friends. Now they'll be sleeping in their pot